Hey everybody, this is Bob Cargill from Bob Cargill's Marketing Show. I am coming to you from my home office in Sudbury, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful day outside. I'm looking out the window. The sun's out. I've been out already just to sit in the yard for a minute or two, and it's warm, and spring has definitely arrived. And we're amidst the pandemic, the coronavirus crisis. So just want to say off the top that I'm thinking of you, wishing you well, and we are hoping we can get through this pandemic sooner rather than later, of course. But that all said, I want to get into Bob Cargill's Marketing Show and my discussion today with my good friend, my colleague on the AMA Boston Board of Directors, Brad McCormick. Brad, how are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm here live from the home office in Quincy, Massachusetts, they say.
It's great to see you, Brad. I'm recording this on Zoom as well, so a video version of our discussion will be available. I'll put it up as soon as possible, probably within a day or two after today's recording, but I'm recording it for my podcast, which I put up on Podbean and wherever people listen to their favorite podcast, as they say, and I'll put it up all over social media. Brad, let's get right into it. I have done, believe it or not, this is going to be my 101st episode on my podcast.
Right.
So I've got 100 of them behind me. So people know who are listening and watching probably about me, and it's not about me. Anyways, it's about you. I want people to get to know you, Brad. Tell whoever is watching, whoever is listening, all about yourself.
All right. Well, I guess I will go back to the beginning a little bit and get to where I am today. But I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and graduated from University of Pittsburgh. And then I moved to D.C. and lived a good part of my life in Washington, D.C., all the way up until just a few years ago. So after I graduated, I actually worked at a radio station, and I did sales and marketing at the radio station. And then I got into the music industry, and I became a sales rep and did marketing work for record labels. I worked for Warner Music Group the whole time I was in D.C. Worked out of the New York City office there, working for all the labels, selling to retailers from the military exchanges to Best Buy, mom and pop record shops. Then I got into e-commerce. And then I got into merchandising. So I did a lot of stuff with music, physical recorded music. And then I started specializing in vinyl records when the vinyl records started making a comeback. And then I got into merchandising with T-shirts, hats, and hoodies. And I became the national account manager for Urban Outfitters and sold them, millions of dollars worth of merchandise. And I got to see, how they operated out of Philadelphia. And then I started working with some other e-commerce businesses, and I actually launched some of my own e-commerce businesses during this time frame while I was working at Warner. I got into some projects. I launched my very first Shopify store. I want to say, it's been quite a while now, but I launched it in the early days of Shopify. I think Shopify was around just a couple years, and I had an idea to sell stadium nacho cheese. And I sourced it, and I made gift kits up, and I sold it through Shopify, and it was doing okay. And then I put it up on Amazon, and then I blew out all my stock through Amazon. The first time I sold on Amazon. So I learned how Amazon worked. I started learning how digital marketing worked a little bit. And then so I was at the record labels, and I had an idea for a product, and actually got it right here. So I was selling vinyl records to Urban Outfitters, dealing with e-commerce businesses and vinyl records. And then I had this idea to make figures. So Funko Pop started exploding. The little collectible figures with the big heads.
I think you've mentioned this
comics
to me
up here in Boston.
Right. What do you have in your hand? Can you show us?
Yeah. So I had the idea to take Funko Pop type figures and make a special base. And I made up a brand called Turntable Toppers, TT Toppers.
TT Toppers with a Z.
So this is the packaging of the very first product I made.
Look at you.
And this is what's in the box. So this little figure,
Look at him or
it
her.
goes on this special base, and this base goes on your turntable, and he spins
Oh, that
around.
is clever. That is really clever.
So I invested my own money, had it mass manufactured, shipped to me, and started dealing. Instagram was brand new back then. So started doing stuff with Instagram, started doing stuff with Facebook advertising, just tinkering around with this stuff. And then, I was at Warner, and I got this background experience on the side, and then I had an idea to try and get vinyl catalog records made up and let fans vote on the records. So I kind of took ideas from like crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, and the capabilities Warner had to make records, and I came up with a model where we would let fans vote on the records, and then whichever records won the vote, we would go into production and make limited stamp numbered editions, and that's called Runout Groove. So my colleague of mine, he came up with the name. He was the guy behind the curating of all the music, and then I was the person behind all the marketing and how the whole concept worked, from the website to the email marketing to how we advertised.
So Brad, you are an entrepreneur, clearly. I mean, you're a marketer. You come up with product ideas. You know how to merchandise these products, how to sell these products. Meaning, you're so well-rounded. I mean, you're through and through. You're a one-man marketing machine. Is that?
Yeah. That's I kind of
Would you accept that definition?
Yeah, and I think I was forced to figure out. Okay, I have an idea for a product. I had to find a designer. I had to find some of the new packaging. I just started like researching this stuff online and putting it all together. And then I'm like, now I got to manufacture this in China and get it shipped to me and then sell it. So I've kind of done from concept to delivery of a good that I thought up in my head.
And that's TT Toppers.
Yeah.
And then,
so
when I first met you, we had the music thing in common. We had marketing in common. I met you, I believe, at the Back Bay Social Club in Boston. And
yes, I just moved here.
What, a couple of years ago, maybe?
I will have been here. We're coming up on 3 years, probably at the end of this year.
And coincidentally, you worked at Warner Music Group, and I told you about 800 years ago, I worked at Warner Publishing, Warner Brothers Publishing in Secaucus, New Jersey, early in my career. And I couldn't believe I met someone else who has worked at Warner Brothers, different time, different place, doing a different thing. But we had that in common. How did you, why you're really not necessarily just a marketer. You're a business person. I mean, that's what I see. You're a hybrid. Am I right? Is that a good way of describing your marketing capabilities? It's very eclectic, very well-rounded.
Yeah, no, I see a lot of people I like the marketing aspect. Like I follow people like Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk, and then other people, in the business world that, have done, different things. And there's like the marketers out there, and then there's the people actually executing on the stuff. And then there's the sales part. And I got into sales early on. And so I look at a lot of people that get these like big marketing plans together, and then they don't kind of tie in the sales aspect to it. Or, you get an influencer marketing nowadays, and people like spend, thousands and thousands of dollars on these influencers. And it's like, well, how many did you just sell after that campaign? They're like, well, it was all about brand awareness. I'm like, that's great. You got to kind of connect brand awareness, then bring them to the next step, and then sell through. Where I think some people focus on just one aspect. I try and incorporate it all. So it's like, you definitely need brand awareness. Then you need to, make the sale at the end of the day, and you need to generate revenue. And I've been, worked on small budgets, had to make things happen. So I think having, been forced into these different situations, whether it's on my own ideas, hey, let me make it happen, or working for a big corporation like Warner and like the Runout Group project that had almost no budget behind it. And I was able to, make it work just from the different things I've done over the years. A little bit of it's education. Some of it's, from listening to podcasts, reading magazines, books, watching TV shows. I pick up stuff watching The Wire or Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. There's
So,
marketing and sales tidbits and all these things.
so I mentioned, we're on the board of directors, both of us, AMA Boston, and you've been for over a year, I think, our VP of social media. Talk about that a little bit. What do you do as VP of social media on the board, and what have you learned being on doing the social media for AMA Boston? Folks know that I think that I've been president for almost 2 years now. Be finishing up in July, not too long from now, a few weeks from now. But I'll be staying involved, and first of all, thank you, Brad, for all you've done for AMA Boston. But tell people what you've done, what you've learned being out there in the front lines doing social media for AMA Boston.
Yeah, so I think it was interesting. I was involved. So I lived in Washington, D.C., for many years. And then my wife took a new job and moved us up here. And that's when, I relocated up here. And I was like, back in D.C., I used to go to AMA things, they would have, the panels that we've been doing and different things like that. And they did little networking events. And I would just go to meet people and learn new, whether it's business ideas or marketing tactics and things, just talking to people. And so when I moved here, I didn't really know anybody. My wife's originally from around here, but I'm not. So I was like, let me look up AMA, and boom, found the marketing mingle. Came to a couple things, that's where I met you.
One thing led to another.
Yeah, and then I left. So the other thing is I left my full-time job at Warner top of 2019. And when I did that, I was like, I'm new in a new town. I left my full-time job after 14 years. I'm doing some freelance type stuff. I got time. Let me see what's going on with AMA and what I can do. So I've learned all this like social media stuff over the years from e-commerce, and I'm like, maybe I can apply this to AMA.
Yeah. So what specifically, in terms of what you've done for AMA Boston, and that's a lot, what have you learned about our followers? Have you noticed any trends? Are they a certain type of people? Do you see certain content that works better for us than not?
Yeah, no, I mean, LinkedIn was something that I hadn't, I used LinkedIn for, looking for jobs and, just connecting people, but I never really used it as a marketing tool. And then once I started seeing like, what people reacted to, it's like, oh, I put up people's pictures and videos and you put their bios and people are interested in this type of stuff. And then I started getting traction. Like, I think that is our strongest channel. Even though that we have like our largest following is on Twitter, you kind of learn how fast a tweet goes.
Yeah.
You could tweet multiple times a day and just a fraction of people that follow you will ever see it or even engage with a tweet. So you
Brad,
really got to like grind at that. But LinkedIn, if you get some good traction, it'll push further and further in the feeds. And
you are making a great point. I tell people all the time that, on Twitter, you have to be active very frequently. You have to be out there day in, day out, all day, and sometimes well into the night to get noticed because there's so much noise. But LinkedIn, on the other hand, if your brand or business or organization, in our case, AMA Boston, if it's right for you, and as you said, you put up pictures, you put up videos, people want to see other people. They want brands to put a face on their brand and a smile on their face, if you will. And you've been doing that remarkably well for AMA Boston by promoting our speakers, promoting other board members. And we've seen great results from what I've seen. And that's what you're corroborating right now, that LinkedIn works very well for AMA Boston, and especially pictures and in the few videos we've done too. Right, Brad?
And the podcast, for sure. The podcast has been the best marketing vehicle we've had. And like the caliber of guests just picked way up to where we got Seth Godin on a few months ago. I mean, that's kind of crazy if you think about it, where, just started having some local people on, and then all of a sudden national authors are coming on our show.
So that's a great pivot when you talk about the podcast, and that credit, a lot of the credit goes to Megan McGrath and Chris Goodnow for starting that and keeping it going. And we've attracted some big name guests. And when we showcase that on social media. How's that been doing, Brad, for our social media results?
Oh no, it's great. Yeah, I think it's great. Like people, especially when you have, nationally recognized figures and promote them on social media, it just, draws in a larger audience. So it's definitely helped, I think, just bring in new people to follow us, and then the new episodes are released, and we're gaining traction.
Yeah, so that's another thing about social media in general, and I'm sure you agree. You actually made the point initially that the big names, if you can connect with them, engage with them, and it aligns with your brand, and that's what AMA Boston has done with its podcast. We've invited some well-known individuals like David Meerman Scott and Chris Brogan and Seth Godin. Geez,
Yeah.
these are rock stars in the marketing and social media worlds, in PR worlds. And if you can engage with them, it aligns with your brand, it's going to help your brand reach an even bigger audience. And so everybody wins. They get the benefit of being in front of our audience. We get the benefit of them ideally amplifying the reach of our content.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the same. Like they take it to another level. And again, the familiarity aspects, it always helps. I mean, it's almost I guess a marketing tactic in itself. And I think Seth Godin was where I first kind of heard him talking about a lot. He's like, people are always looking for something new, but they also want something familiar. So, and this is happening in consumer brands and all kinds of marketing, where you take the new and the familiar and interconnect it. Just, I guess a good example is like potato chips. You go to the grocery store, and I want to say every few months there's new flavors of potato chips. Like they can make it that quick, and bam, everyone knows potato chips, likes potato chips, but they want something new and they're familiar with. Oh, wasabi! I love wasabi. I love potato chips. New wasabi potato chips. So it's like, that new with familiarity. It always helps. And I guess that's a lesson I learned. Going back to my turntable toppers. This is a proprietary figure. I worked with a designer. He sketched it out and did it together. No one's ever seen this. So it's a new concept. It was a new figure. And so when I first put it out there, I didn't have that familiarity piece because I got a branded product. This didn't exist. These little figures didn't exist that went on turntables. And my design was this, we call them DJ tracks. No one's ever seen this either. So if I had R2D2 on the thing, boom. Oh, a turntable topper with R2D2. That's awesome. Like, because they can connect the familiarity.
So Brad, you're making an excellent point. And marketing's the thrust of what I focus on in this show, and that's a gem of a lesson. Something new. It's a brand extension, really. I think it's a twist on something that everybody knows. You might have that great twist, but you didn't have the recognition. So if you can partner with, what if Star Wars, you could have partnered with their merchandising group, or what if you yourself were a movie star or top 40 rock star and you release that product, you would be familiar. The product is the twist.
Yeah.
I think, you're part inventor as well. I mentioned entrepreneur, you're a marketer, you're a salesperson, you're very innovative. I've talked to you an awful lot over since we've met, I guess over 2 years now. And I think, you have a variety of instincts that I would think wherever you have worked, people you have been an incredible asset to those organizations based on, what you bring to the table.
Yeah, no, it definitely helped. I did a lot of innovative things at Warner and on my own. And I guess I'm working with, right now, I guess, because pandemic times.
You read my mind.
Yes.
Because I wanted to ask you what you've been doing during the pandemic, and I know where you're going. and
Yeah.
I'm not going to steal your thunder, but once
No.
you start talking about what you're going to talk about, I definitely want to chime in.
Yeah. So again, I've been doing the e-commerce consulting, and where I met somebody through Urban Outfitters many many years ago. He's an American designer that has his own factory in China, and he lives here in the U.S. And I was been helping him sell products and different things. And then when this pandemic came about, he's like, I got to switch my factory to masks and get on that. So he immediately jumped into it, whipped up design, showed me some stuff, and I was like, we could start getting this out there. And so we have these. They come packaged in these cards like this, and this is one of the more popular designs right now.
I think I saw you modeling that on LinkedIn.
Yes, so
something like that.
So this is a breathable, stretchy material, and they're adjustable. So a lot of the masks on the market are cloth. They're heavier, and they don't adjust, so they get loose and all this. This actually has a little metal nose guard in it.
Oh, that's ideal. Yeah.
So this is like a pretty good premium product, and we're starting to move them. And we've come into some roadblocks, actually. Facebook and Instagram, and
you mentioned that.
All of the major platforms have banned advertising of these types of products, even though they're required by law. So we've had to.
Are you sure of that? Now, you mentioned that to me, but honestly, I feel like I've been seeing some ads for face coverings and masks.
And we have had some get through. It's they have these very strict requirements, and they put a blanket ban out there. They've kind of loosened up a little bit now. Now they're realizing the United States public needs these.
Oh yeah,
where do you
very
buy
much
them?
so.
Well, you can't advertise them. It gets crazy. So so that's one of the projects I've been on.
About those masks, I'm a new customer, and I'm waiting patiently for my mask. I can't wait to get it from you and your team.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I did order one the other day using your code.
Yes. No, we saw. Yeah, it should be in the mail.
Yeah, no, I hope so, because what you are making a very good point about masks. We should all be wearing one if we in public when we can't social distance 6 feet or more from others. I totally support wearing them and wish everyone would wear them. It frustrates me when I go out and don't see people wearing them. But that point aside, I've ordered from you as well as a couple others and have yet. I ordered from a couple others weeks ago, still have not received them.
Oh,
so
wow.
There must be a backup, a demand for these things that outdoes the supply.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there's crazy, and they give a lot of people, I think, probably I think a lot of people jumped in the game and tried to push it without having the products manufactured yet, and then didn't realize how bad the backups would be. So there's a lot, and I think that's why they put the ban on some of it initially. But I think supply is getting up again, and we have ours in stock, so it's.
Well, I can't wait to get the one I ordered from you guys, because I loved the design. I love shopping. I love clothes, and I've told my wife I'm going to be one of those people who probably have about 20 different face masks, face coverings, for different occasions.
It'll be the new
mix
thing.
it up. I think they're in a good fashion statement. Never mind the fact everyone should be wearing them, to protect others. I'm a fan of New York Governor Cuomo, who, as well as our own Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker. With Governor Cuomo, particularly, he does amazing social media. Whoever's working with him to do his social media, and they're always making the point. He's always making the point: wear a mask if you can't social distance in public.
Yeah. So we're trying to come up with different marketing, kind of campaigns, and it's showing the features and benefits of this. The funky designs. This is breathable for the summertime, adjustable. But then we were just talking the other day, and we thought up. Would you wear the same underwear every day? Probably not. And who does that? So it's would you wear the same mask every day? And a lot of people are, because we were noticing a lot of people are just ordering one. Some people are ordering two. And so over time, we're thinking, people are going to start to realize, you got to kind of change.
Wash it every day.
Wash it and that. There's disposable ones out there, but so we were thinking that's a good campaign. Hey, would you wear the same underwear every day? Why would you wear the same mask every day?
Yeah, like socks or as you said, underwear. You want to change it every day and And as I said, I think it's a great fashion statement. Tell people, if you can, how they can order these things from you,
Oh,
Brad, if
they
that's
go
so.
to
Yeah, go ahead.
Fidelity. I'm sorry, they can go to fidelitybags.com. Um, it's spelled F. Let me see if I can
Hold it
go.
up, yeah, so people can see it.
Is
Yep,
it? Yes.
FYDELITY.com. Oh, Fidelity Bags
Yeah,
dot com.
fidelitybags.com. It's hard to see this, but yeah, Fidelity, FYDELITY
Any
bags.com.
deals on those? What's the price
Yeah.
on those?
Oh yeah, yeah. No. So use my code Brad25.
I love this. So
25, and
this
you'll get a deal, a special marketing roadshow deal, exclusive. Uh,
I love that.
yeah,
Brad 25 is the code. And hey, Brad, you can, the magic of editing, you could always excerpt this little bit of our conversation and put it out there as a spot for you and those masks. I mean, hey, that's a win-win. We all need to be wearing our masks. They are not easy to get quickly. An example, meaning I've ordered a few and have not received one in the mail yet. The one, so I'm telling listeners and viewers, get from fidelity.com and Brad McCormick, use Brad 25 and get your mask, get a few of them and wear them. To me, wearing them when you're in public shows respect for others, because you're containing the spread of the coronavirus. And you know what I read today, Brad? Something like, don't quote me, I'm not a scientist or an expert, but something like 1 in 40 people could have COVID-19 and be asymptomatic. So we all think thank God, we feel healthy. You
yeah,
look healthy. I feel healthy. Hopefully I look healthy too. Hopefully you feel healthy.
yeah,
But we could have it and
yeah,
not know it. And that's why people should be wearing their masks, to protect others. Hey, Brad, so I'm going to ask a few more questions. What
yeah.
about your personal brand? How do you've told us a little bit about your career. We've talked about AMA Boston, the mass. What do you do on social media I'm all over social media. I'm on Instagram every day, LinkedIn almost every day, Twitter multiple times a day, Facebook every day. Where else? YouTube, I put up videos every few days. So I love social media. I'm all over it. It has absolutely helped me with my brand, my visibility. Pretty much most clients I get, I feel, are because they've seen me on social media. So I can't thank social media enough, and I can't believe in social media enough. But what is your go-to for developing your personal brand? What channels do you use? How do you get, because you, like me, kind of work in the gig economy, doing contract work, looking for clients occasionally. How do you build your personal brand, Brad?
Like I'm probably like as much social media as I'm involved with. It's always with other companies. Like I help and advise and do like 4 or 5 different projects right now. So I'm always making posts on Instagram, and again, I'm doing the AMA stuff, but I work with a podcaster at DC. I advise her on different things and help get some of her stuff set up. And then I run these couple of different e-commerce sites. One is a hip hop music site, and so I'm like always just busy doing everybody else's stuff that I rarely do anything for myself. And I only just started to recently try some stuff out with these masks. So I took pictures of me and my wife, put them
Yep.
on Facebook, because I was never a Facebook poster like here's what I did today, blah blah. I never did that stuff. I just
Unlike
started
me.
doing it a little bit, and I took a cue from you, and I made my first video, putting on the mask, and then I did the caption thing, and I posted it on LinkedIn last week. So I'm just experimenting with it right now. When it comes to personal brand, I was out there. When I moved here to Boston, I went to the AMA events, and I went to probably like multiple networking events a week. So it was me in person, meeting people in person, versus me putting stuff out there on social media. It was literally, hey, you see me and talk to me at these things I was going to all over Boston. And I did that in DC. I ran a DJ business, in DC on the side.
That's the part I don't know about you, is the DJ business.
Yeah.
And I'd love to do an event with you when we get the pandemic behind us, because we have so much in common, and we haven't, well, we talk about Warner Brothers, but
Yeah.
loving music and I love to dance. Tell us about the DJ part of you.
So that, yeah, no, that in DC, I did some social media stuff with that because it was me, you're hiring me. So I used like Wedding Wire. My bio was on there. I got reviews.
Wow.
I did postings on Facebook. I went to these wedding shows and stuff. And then it was just, I did so I started in the early 2000s doing the weddings in DC. And then I thought I'd just do a few here and there to make some extra cash. Ended up doing it for 15 years straight. I think over 500 some weddings.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
There was some weekends I would just when September rolled around in DC, that's like prime time. I was doing a wedding on a Friday night, Saturday, and a Sunday. It was crazy. But I promoted myself because it was me. The product was me back then. And then I kind of started getting into these other projects after I wound, it was just a little bit too much to keep doing this every weekend. As you get older, you got to carry all this equipment around and take up your weekends. So I was like, I'll do projects that are not taking up my whole weekends. And that's when I got into more of the e-commerce and then applied some of those stuff. But yeah, when you're talking about personal branding, right now I have I had to update my LinkedIn profile last year when I left my full-time job and, started doing some of that stuff. But yeah, it's an area that I probably could do more.
You are a Renaissance man, Brad. You really are. And
You're not the first person who said that.
And well, then, yeah, make the most of that. I think you are. But who am I to give you advice? I think you're busier and probably making more money, frankly, than I am doing what you do, because I think you're a better businessman than I am. I'm more the creative type, very cerebral, doing a ton of work, but not always making money for it. We should partner because you seem more the businessman type, and know how to drive results. And so I put out a lot of projects that I don't necessarily measure the success of. I just like creating content. Now, all that said, I have my own clients and I do a ton of work for them as well. I teach. So obviously I am earning an income that pays the bills. But I feel like combined, Brad, your entrepreneurial business mind with my and then both of our creative heads together, we could make something really happen.
Yeah,
that's my pipe dream. But oh yeah, and I didn't even get to my whole point. Put yourself out there more on social media, because that's one thing I think I do a ton of. If you did it, geez, I think you'd see amazing results, because you have so much talent, so much creativity, and I called you at the top of the show eclectic, and I'm now saying you're a Renaissance man. I didn't even know all that about you, the music, and you've got so many different businesses going. Tell me about post-pandemic, because we're going to wind down in a few minutes, Brad, if you don't mind, but I want to squeeze in a few more questions. What you could, neither of us are scientists or doctors, but when do you think this is all going to end, and how is marketing and social media and business going to look once the pandemic's in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I really don't know. Like, even just in the beginning of March, it was like, is this real? Is this happening? And now it's reality and it's everyday life, and who knows? I look more at looking at the retail landscape out there. E-commerce is picked way up. Production is off, so demand planning is off. Like, I think just it's going to be a shakeup of like people going out of business and new businesses coming in that are going to take advantage of certain situations. You got Amazon trying to run the world, your independent businesses trying to like go up against them and survive. So it's going to be an interesting shakeup, I think, and then definitely a bigger push to direct-to-consumer e-commerce, because people aren't going to be comfortable. I think even if they're like, as they're easing into this, who knows? Again, will there be an uptick in the fall. There's just so many unknowns. So, but I think, you just have more online business going on is my thinking, and experiences will become more virtual and online, and that's what's going to evolve. But marketing will still work the same way. It'll just be not as much in person. It'll just have to be like having that human touch virtually now, and be definitely more customer centric, because you're not going to go into the stores as much, I guess, and having top, I guess, customer service on any online business is going to be critical. Again, like you're saying, you've been waiting for some orders. Has anybody reached out to you saying, here's what's happened? Like, just if you just got someone messaged you, said, your order is on its way.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what happened. Like, if you're
I think actually one of those companies did send out a message like that.
Okay, yeah. If you just tell people, I've seen examples of a lot of companies where they run into problems with manufacturing, they can't deliver, something's wrong with their website, it crashes, this and that, and they try and hide behind the stuff, and then finally come out later on. But it's like, just tell people up front what's going on. Most people are understandable, so I think that's going to be a big thing.
Brad, if I were to edit, I talk very transparently and candidly. If I were to edit a highlight out of this show, it would be your answer to that question I asked post-pandemic. I think you hit the nail on the head, meaning, customer experiences online are going to be so important. Those brands and businesses who already had a strong online presence and understand how to leverage social media, understand how to be quick and responsive and hospitable, if you will, to those who are visiting their websites. Those are the businesses who are going to win post-pandemic. And sadly, those businesses who hemmed and hawed with social media and with e-commerce, the retail, the brick and mortar, they're going to be, sadly, probably victims of the coronavirus crisis. And businesses is going to change. It's that change people like me and you probably saw coming, but a lot of people, it took the pandemic to accelerate that descent, if you will, of some sectors of the business world into failure. Do you agree? I think we're both on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you, Brad, in terms of your, what you're doing, what you see yourself doing? If I can throw that question at you, you can answer it any which way you want, but what are your ultimate goals? I could see you owning your own business. I could see you writing books. I've only known you for a few years. So, you got an amazing background, extremely creative. I see you inventing products. But you might I'm curious, you might have an entirely different objective for your career. Tell people where you're heading and how can people help you, or how can you help them who are listening and watching?
Yeah, and I'm always I'm looking at new business trends a lot. E-commerce, really trying to figure out how to capitalize on whether it's the paid social media to reach the right people and converting them, and using email marketing, and then just in that industry, but budgeting for returns, and driving revenue for online businesses, and then the ones I have an interest in. So I'm currently working for a small company in Malden called GetOnDown.com. We do all hip hop vinyl reissues. We do some new hip hop records, but it's a lot of reissues. We actually sell some CDs still, and I guess one of the things I've found is there's definitely a resurgence of nostalgia right now. If you look at what's been selling comfort foods, and then you go to music, there's been trends in Spotify where older music is being streamed more. But people want to go back to the time that was better and create those feelings. So we're selling vinyl records that were came out 20, 30 years ago. We're doing anniversary editions of these records. and people are still buying them every day on our website. And we're like, the economy's tanking, all this stuff's happening, but people, they're like, they see this reissue from when they were like in high school or college, and they're like, they have their turntable now, and they were collecting records a little bit, and they're like, oh man, that record meant so much to me, 20 years ago. I'm going to buy it now and then have it. And it gives them a feeling on top of owning this thing, So I'm seeing that. But I'm definitely been just, looking out the job landscape in Boston. And, I feel like I was looking at full-time gigs. I actually worked at Hasbro for just a little bit. I had a contract that just ended. And then, I got the music entertainment side, inventing stuff, marketing. So, I could go any direction. And I guess I've been spending more of my time lately just getting back into running.
Love that.
If I actually had to stop. I ran track, cross country, all as a kid, junior high, high school, went to finals,
What was the event? Yet another thing you and I have in common. And I now recall you mentioned this before because you know I'm a runner. What event did you do in high school?
So I was long distance because I ran cross country.
Yeah, me too.
So Yeah, so when I did track, they always put me in the mile or the 2. Nobody wanted to do the 2, and they would always have me do it. I hated the 2. I hated.
What were your times? I loved the mile and the 2 mile. I go back much. What's that?
I just didn't like running in circles. That always bothered me. Like I like the cross country running on different lanes.
More an adventure. I go way back, Brad, but into the 1976. I graduated from high school, but my times were. I'm curious what your times were. Do you remember your times? Yours are easier to remember because I weren't that long.
I mean, I definitely did pretty well at the mile. Like the 2, I don't remember. I tried to not do the 2 mile. I just didn't. But like when I ran like cross country, you're talking about the mile?
Well, what was your mile time? Yeah. Best mile time.
I definitely did under 5 minutes.
Yeah. You said you went to states, didn't you?
I went to like qualifiers. Yeah. I definitely went to like the cross country, the long distance. I was like my one year, probably my junior year, I was like the number 2 or 3 person on the team.
You rock, man. I was a 4:44 mile, my best in high school, and a 10:17 2 mile. And we had a field house, Franklin High School, Franklin, Massachusetts. This is a long time ago. That was a big deal. And it was 22 laps for the 2 mile. So you talk about running in circles. And I agree, it was monotonous, but I actually liked it a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I started doing it again around here, but I had a slight injury at the end of last year, and I had to start doing stuff indoors. And I started doing Stairmaster and the Cybex machine and those different things. And then come March, everything's closed. I can't go to the gym anymore. Yeah. And I was like, maybe I should just try and run again to see what happens. So I did a mile, and I did 2, then I did 3. I was like, I seem to be okay. I was doing 4, 5, 6. And so I think last week I probably ran close to 60 or 70 miles.
Jeez.
In a week. And then today, so I haven't done this, but I got up, and I'm in Quincy, and I was like, I'm going to run to Wahlburgers in Hingham. So I don't know if you know where that is.
No, but I know Wahlberg is the one in Fenway Park I've been to a few times.
There's one in Hingham, and I'm in Quincy, so I ran there.
Seems like a hike, yeah.
About 5 miles, and then ran back, and I clocked it. It was 10 miles exactly almost by the time I got back home, and I did it in 1 hour and like 15 minutes.
Oh my God, that's a seriously good time, and that's really good.
I only did 9 a couple days ago, and then prior to that, it was like the most I was hitting was 8.
Yeah, so you're underselling yourself as a runner, meaning I was bragging about my times in high school, but you can run circles around me now. I'm much slower. And if you're running 75 minutes for 10 miles, that's really, really fast. Yeah. Did you get a hamburger, though?
No, it was in the morning. I ran just in the morning. I just was like, hey, let me pick a point to get to. And because I went that direction the one day, and I hit about 7 miles, and I'm like, well, how much farther is that Wahlburgers? I'm like, today I was just like, I saw the sign for Hingham. I'm like, I'm in Hingham already. I'm like, I'll just keep going. And I'm like, oh, there it is. And I went in the parking lot, turned around, and then it was definitely it seemed like a longer way home for sure. Because by the time it was like at 2 miles left, I was like, wow. But I started like listening to more podcasts and reading some books. I read David Goggins' book.
I know.
Last year.
I think I know who he is. My son Ben is a fan of his. Tell me about him. I think it's the same guy.
He's run the most ultra marathons, I think, than anybody. He's done like crazy feats.
Yeah, I know who he is. My son Ben knows who he is. He's told me about it.
He wasn't much into running, and then one day it's like, I'm going to try and qualify for like a crazy race.
David Goggins,
marathon. So I was like, oh, this guy's he has this mindset and can do it. And then I found another guy called Wim Hof.
I don't know that name. Wim Hof.
Yeah, Wimhof. He's a Dutch Scandinavian guy. But he holds a bunch of records. He can swim under Arctic waters.
Jesus.
For like 5 minutes. And he has this breathing technique. You can do it, it helps you increase your oxygen levels and actually boost your immune system.
I'm going to have to look him up.
I started doing it. You just breathe in and out 30 times. And then after doing that 30 times, inhale, you just do it like you're almost like hyperventilating, but do it slow, like controlled. And on the 30th breath, you exhale and don't breathe in. So you've exhaled everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And put a timer on, see how long you can go. And then after, once you start, you need oxygen. So you're going to like have to open, you have to breathe in. So you breathe in once, hold it for 15 seconds and let it go. That's round one. Then you do round two. And every round, if you go up to like 4 rounds, you can usually go without oxygen for over 2 minutes on like the 4th round. It builds. It's like weird.
That is wicked
and
cool.
Then after you can run longer I don't know. I just started doing this, so it's working. So I was telling people about it. I told one girl about it that I worked with in New York, and she's been holed up in her place in New York City, and was like kind of having all kinds of issues being there with the epicenter. And I said, check this guy out. And she told me she started doing it, and then she said like she's been 10 times like her energy levels have been up and all this stuff.
Wow.
Okay. So I'm trying to tell more people about this guy.
Wim Hof.
Yeah.
I will look him up. I'm going to tell my son Ben about him. When I was a kid, I went to summer camp, and I loved underwater swimming. I remember doing that in some competition at summer camp, holding your breath underwater. And so I'm going to look this guy up. Brad, I'm going to use this. We need to wind down in just a minute or two. Do you have any closing remarks? Anything I haven't asked you that you want to mention?
No, just go to fidelitybags.com and you can order some masks and come look out for the AMA. Follow AMA Boston on all the social media channels, and you'll see some stuff we're doing.
How can people reach you directly if they want to enhance your personal brand, Brad? Put out your social handles and your website or whatever you want to share with people.
Yeah, like me personally, I'm not out there on social media really. I mean, I have a Facebook page, but my LinkedIn is the main thing where people can connect to me and message me, because I don't tweet personally. I tweet for other people. I don't have my own Instagram. I do have an Instagram account. I haven't opened it in years.
We're going to have to do something about that, Brad, because I think, have as much or maybe even more to talk about than I do, and I'm out there every day. So you should be out there every day, too, in addition to the work you do for your clients. Treat yourself like a client.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like Brad McCormick. You should be able to find me on LinkedIn pretty easily. People can email me at bradmcdj at gmail.com. I used to have a website for my DJ business. I shut it down when I moved here. It was up for quite a while, but no personal website anymore. My Turntable Toppers website's still up. I still have some product. So you can go to turntabletoppers.com, and I'm behind that. So you'll find I'm behind all the social media on that. So I do have a Twitter account I have a Twitter account, Instagram, and Facebook for that. But I'm just not as active in that business as much anymore. And I'm doing the Fidelity face mask now, and getondown.com. I run all their social channels. So, if you go to getondown.com, I'm behind a lot of these things. But yeah, I'd say LinkedIn, look me up and email me, or you can find me, of course, go to amaboston.org. I'm on the board.
Yes, you are. You're on the board.
My LinkedIn profile is right there.
Yep.
And if you tweet at AMA Boston, I'm the one probably.
Chances are, Brad.
I'll send direct messages, whatever. So.
And me on Fridays, because that's when I jump on for AMA Boston. Brad, you've been awesome. You've been an awesome guest. You are awesome. You're ridiculously awesome. I think extremely highly of you. And now after talking to you for around an hour and listening intently to everything you're saying, I feel like I know you even better. And I know my audience, Bob Cargill's marketing show on Zoom video. I'll put it up on YouTube, social media. People will be able to watch and listen to this interview. It'll be up on my podcast where I put it up on Podbean and share it wherever people listen to their favorite podcast. They're going to get to know Brad McCormick. And I hope, Brad, you have a lot more connections on LinkedIn and followers on social media, et cetera. And everyone buy your face coverings, your masks from Brad. And one more time, what's the URL?
It is fidelitybags.com, and that's FYDELITY bags.com. And so
and use that discount code if we can tell
Brad
people
25, and you can
look at that.
One of these. So
you can look like Brad, and you can be respecting others by making sure that if we can't social distance, if we can't be 6 feet from one another, we're covering our faces to contain the spread of the coronavirus. And Brad, again, thank you so much for this conversation. Thank you for your time. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This has been Bob Cargill with Bob Cargill's marketing show. And my guest today has been the ridiculously awesome Brad McCormick. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, folks. And we will talk to you. We will see you again sometime soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.